Hello there, and welcome to the series where you, the viewer, get in on these videos and we debate video games. This week we're going to talk about next-gen gaming. If you're new here, my name is James, and on this channel we talk about video games a lot. If it sounds like something you're interested in, please do give the video a like, and the little subscribe button is just down below if you fancy subscribing. And if you want to get in on these videos, go to my community tab every Sunday. There'll be a poll, you can vote there and leave a comment below it. So, this week, I simply asked, which console will win next-gen gaming? Obviously, the PS6 is the biggest winner, and I think most people are going to vote for that. Xbox is on 6%, which is quite surprising. Steam Machine on 29%, and Switch 2 on 9%. Very, very surprising results there. Genuinely very, very surprising. Leaving out the obvious winner of the PlayStation, I am genuinely surprised that only 9% of the vote went for Switch 2. The Switch 2 has sold incredibly well, and I know there is controversy about it in terms of the price of games, the price of the system, whatever else, but there's no doubt that it has sold well. So does that tell me that people are just not interested in it anymore? Who knows? But 6% on Xbox, look, I know people are saying Xbox is dead, Xbox is going nowhere, and all that malarkey, but genuinely I really thought there'd be double-digit figures for the Xbox. The biggest surprise, I think, is the Steam box or Steam machine, because 29% of people think that's going to win next gen, and that's a reasonable thing to assume. Although we don't know anything about it, we don't know how the hardware is going to be. We don't know whether it can actually compete with a PlayStation, all that stuff. But could you imagine if this poll didn't include that Steam box? Would that mean that the Switch 2 would go whoosh straight up, or would the Xbox go straight up, or would they still remain at 6 and 9%? Who knows? Anyway, let's take a look at the first comment. Baldmaster95 says, no doubt the new Xbox will be digital only, and the Steam machine I feel is going to flop. The Switch 2 will continue to sell well and fast, but won't be able to keep up with PlayStation sales, so PS6 hands down. It's an interesting thought to think that the Steam machine will flop. There's no saying that that's true, that's wrong, because realistically, if it just can't compete with the Switch 2 or the PlayStation, yeah, there's a good chance the Steam machine could flop. But again, this is your viewer's opinion, so it's not my opinion at all, but it's good to debate, hence these videos. And Switch 2, there's so much looking into the Switch 2, because when it was first announced, people were so hyped for it, we were all excited, but realistically, yeah, Baldmaster's got it right. I think PS6 is just going to dominate next generation no matter what happens. There's so much to look into with this, but realistically, Xbox, yeah, it probably will be digital only. But that could go for it in some ways, but we'll talk about that a little later on. The next comment comes from Flavorous, and he says, most people will say the PlayStation 6, and I voted for it, but don't count out the Xbox just yet. If it's a beefy PC-style console for a good price, it might do better than expected. Steam Machine might be good if it's marketed right, and as for Switch 2, Nintendo will get greedier at some point and gamers will turn on them. Wow, a lot to unpack in that one. So let's look at Nintendo first. Nintendo do appear to be on a greedy phase at the moment, because look at the price of Mario Kart. Is that really justified at $80? They can say tariffs, they can say game development costs, all that stuff, but I just don't think it's justified to charge $80 for a game right now. Maybe in the future, but Nintendo do appear to be incredibly greedy, and seeing that as 9% on there, I think gamers may have turned on Nintendo already, but it doesn't mean to say that it's not a good selling console, because it is. It genuinely is a good selling console. As for a beefy PC-style console for Xbox, yeah, that's how they can kind of, not dominate next generation, but it's how they can get somewhere. I think Microsoft needs to kind of ditch their traditional Xbox consoles now, and they need to focus on maybe the PC market a little bit more. But their biggest problem is the introduction of that Steam machine, because if that hadn't been announced, if that wasn't coming out, Microsoft could have captured the PC market a little bit more with their next Xbox, but now I think Steam is going to be their direct competitor. There's no point Microsoft competing with PlayStation, and I do think Flavorous is right to an extent to say don't count out the Xbox just yet, because we need to see. If it is a good priced console, cheaper than the Steam machine, more powerful than the Steam machine, then there's a good chance that people may actually flock to the Xbox instead of the Steam machine. Who knows? But has the damage already been done to Microsoft? Have they already destroyed their reputation? It's genuinely hard to say, because I think it comes down to price. Let's say the new Steam box is $1,000, but the new Xbox is $1,200. People are naturally going to buy the Steam box if they want that style console. But if we turn it around the other way and say, well, the Steam box comes out at $1,000, but the Xbox comes out at $750, there's a good chance people may go for Xbox instead of the Steam box. And what it really comes down to is what you can do with these consoles. I think PlayStation is just going to carry on its traditional way of, here's your disc, here's your digital library, whatever, play your PlayStation games, here's the OS. But with the other two, the Xbox and the Steam box, they may come with customizable OS system, all that sort of thing. I'm not too into that, so, I'm not big up, so it's hard for me to say. But if they have things like that where you can customize the actual console itself, then yeah, both of them might do quite well. The next comment comes from Damyo Yesanya 4656, and he says, obviously, still going to be the next PlayStation and Nintendo console. We forget that the internet is such a bubble, and I think many people need reality checks often. The Steam box is still going to be niche, and the PS6 will outsell it in its first 3 months on the market, the same way the Switch 2 has outsold the Steam Deck and all handheld consoles so far. I think that is a really, really good point, because the Switch 2, for all its negativity and bad press, bad publicity, has sold well. I don't think it has sold more than the Steam Deck. But the Steam Deck itself is niche, much like the Steam box itself. They are kind of a niche audience. And the idea of those is to get PC gamers over into like a console market, so as Valve can capture both areas. Because realistically, no company can do that. No company can capture PC and console gaming market both together. And it might be Valve trying to do it, but I still think it's very, very niche. But yeah, it's obviously going to be PlayStation and Nintendo, not necessarily head-to-head, but I think it's still going to be them competing for the main console market. But again, I think it comes down to whether Xbox is going to be digital or whether Xbox will have discs or not. Perhaps it also comes down to whether Nintendo do get greedy, going back to the previous comment, because if they do and start charging more for the console, more for the games, then people may turn on them, like Flavorus said. So I think, realistically, it's so hard at this point to judge who will win console gaming in next generation, because it's just so up in the air right now. Because 2 months ago, none of us knew that the Steam box was going to be coming out as a console. That was just unbelievable. How that was kept a secret for so long, I really, really don't know. No one knew that it was coming. But Steam Deck, yes, Switch 2 is outsold, but the Steam Deck is very, very popular. And again, I think that comes down to Valve trying to capture two markets in one. But PlayStation, most people are saying, look, PlayStation's going to win. And PlayStation will sell incredibly well no matter what happens with the other consoles. So what do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll carry on this debate, because we've got probably 2 years left until we actually start seeing next generation consoles coming out. So there's a lot to talk about, and there's so much we don't know, so obviously there is a lot more to debate. So let's carry on in the comments below. As I said, if you want to get involved with these videos, go to my community tab every Sunday. There'll be a poll there for you to vote in, and just leave a comment so you can get in these videos, and we'll debate your comment, and obviously reply in the comments of this video below if you left a comment for it. There'll be some videos on the screen now if you fancy watching any of those, and a little subscribe button just down below if you fancy subscribing and seeing more from this series. But I do appreciate you watching all the way through. Give the video a like if you did like it. Give a dislike if you didn't, but let me know why you didn't like it. Hopefully I'll see you in one of my next videos, but until then, thanks for watching and take care.